Wes Goldberg, happy Friday as we record this May 9th here on the Just Basketball Show. Cold open question for you is a very, very brief one. And it's inspired by, we were just talking about your coffee order. What, if you were an NBA player, or at least like from what you know about what guys eat pregame, and I'm pushing this on you. This is very impulse. What would you eat? Like, what do you think your pregame meal would be? Because this can range from like deli drink Matthew Dellavedova, drinking coffee. You have guys that are like, yeah, eat like fettuccine Alfredo, which seems insane to me.
Yeah, somebody. When you asked me the question, who was it that came out and said they eat fettuccine Alfredo before games? That was recent.
Yeah,
that's
and
insane.
there was. Yeah, that's just like way too much. Like that's just like
That's
pasta. Like I get it, but it's like that's like a lot of cream, man. Like what are we doing?
Yeah, that's you're playing a dangerous game there.
Yeah.
But no, I would probably, just knowing how I feel, I would probably keep it protein based with a little bit of fats for energy.
Yeah.
And I know you're spring. I think just like if I can get some steak with sweet potato or something like that, that's probably where I would go.
Very balanced of you.
Yeah, I'd probably just eat that, and then obviously the peanut butter and jelly at halftime for sugar and carbs. I would be a player who drinks a ton of caffeine before games. I would probably go. I don't even know if I would go coffee. I might just go straight like energy drink.
Yeah, I think energy drink is a good move.
You give me a Celsius, I'm good to go.
Yeah, give me like a white Monster before tip. Let me just be like the biggest gym bro energy of all time with that. I think I'm like when I run long on a weekend, I like don't feel good if I overeat. Like if I do anything, and I'm like a 1% athlete, and those guys are like 99% athletes. I would just want like, I think like either like a bowl of oatmeal or one of those like carb endurance powders, because my stomach, I'd be like too tense, right? Like I would just.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Or I
wouldn't want to eat right before the game.
Yeah, obviously a couple hours, but it's like I want like something just very simple that calms me down a little bit, and then the energy drink to do the opposite. But I might take like even if someone just, I know like there are PB&Js, there's like a science to it. There's a great Baxter Holmes story that if people haven't read it, they should go back and read about the PB&J stuff in the NBA. I might just smack me an Uncrustable, man. You know, like I'll be simple. I'm not fussy. Just give me
you're good for like a college program. That's very like
a Mac program, like a not like Duke. Like I'm like, hey, buddy, we know unless you have your March moment, you're not playing pro. You're gonna go work at you're gonna go work at like a consulting firm or go into coaching. Like that's where you're headed.
Yeah, I think you're right with the slow burning carbs. Like if just give me a bowl of oatmeal. Protein all day, bowl of oatmeal 2 hours before the game with some blueberries or raspberries or bananas, some fruit, for sugar and some healthy sugars. Give me that energy, slow burning carbs, get me through the game. More carbs and sugar at halftime, and energy drinks. I sometimes I see because when I go to these arenas for like a 7:30 tip and I'm just so tired. Yeah. But I'm like, I can't imagine doing what they're doing right now. I'm just watching them doing it, and it's exhausting sometimes. But also they get to nap for like 3 hours in the middle of the day, so that must be nice.
Yeah, I think we are, though. I will say, like, if there's a market correction I could have on like what we do is like written stories now. I almost want like the book on NBA routine, like, or sports like athlete routine. If you couldn't just get like enough NBA players to sell
I'll get started on it.
Honestly, let's do it. This sounds like a great thing for you. You and I would honestly have, I think, a ball with this. We'd be really weird about it. I mean, you're never getting LeBron, but like, who do you think the best player you could get to talk to you about this is?
So I did a story about ice baths. A few years ago.
Are you an ice bath guy? Are you a plunge guy?
So no, because like who's got the room for that? Like I would love to do a plunge, but like where?
Yeah, I have I have a thing in my shower that is like it goes under the head, and then I have to put like big ice cubes in it, and I do that.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it doesn't work quite the same, to be honest. It's not quite as submersive, but it kind of like gives me the same like.
Yeah, I'll do a splash of cold water at the end of the shower every once in a while. I enjoy that, and there's pools everywhere in Miami, so like I just
that's what I'm saying.
Jump into one of those.
Yeah, I'm sure there's like a $500 a month club you could join and do a plunge every day. If
you yeah, I could go through I'm sure like the Equinox around the corner. I could start doing that. But no, I actually talked to a scientist. do scientists call themselves scientists?
Yeah.
I talked to somebody who dealt with ice baths, and he kind of poo-pooed the entire thing. He's like, it really doesn't work, but if it makes you feel better, more power to you. It's more of like a mental thing. But I remember talking to a player, and I can't remember who it was, but he was so like he had to have his ice bath every night, and they were at a hotel, and he told me that he once took the recycling bin out of the hotel and went back and forth from the ice machine to the tub in the hotel to fill up the whole tub in the hotel with ice. And I was like, and then he did it a couple times, and then it was taking too long. So he took the garbage can out of the hallway of the hotel, like the big garbage can, and started filling that up with ice from the ice machine, and then dumped that into his bath a couple of times. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah. NBA routine stuff is incredibly sicko shit, and I'm here for it. All right, on today's show, we've got a lot to get to. Wolves Warriors is 1-1, and Steph Curry's injury throws a huge shadow over the series. We got Cavs Celtics. We're going to pick which team we think is more equipped to come back from 2-0. And would you rather have Jalen Brunson or Tyrese Haliburton as your guy to win a title in this current situation? On today's show, on the Just Basketball Show, let's go. What is up, everyone? Chris Manning, Wes Goldberg here on the Just Basketball Show, a Friday edition of the pod. As always, please subscribe, rate, review on your podcast platform of choice. Hit that notification bell. Hit subscribe on YouTube. Give us that 5-star rating and review, please. And thank you if you're on Apple, Spotify, wherever you're listening to your podcasts. And we're, as always, powered by our friends at BetMGM.
If you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use the bonus code JUSTBasketball, and you'll get up to $1,500 on a first bet offer on your first wager with BetMGM. Here's how it works. Download the BetMGM Sportsbook app on iOS or Android. Sign up using the code JUSTBasketball. Deposit at least $10. Place your first wager on any game, and you'll receive up to $1,500 back in bonus bet if the bet loses. Just make sure to use the bonus code JUSTBasketball when you sign up. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Must be 21 or older to wager. Terms and conditions apply.
Wes, before we get into, I'm gonna run down series odds real quick because I was reading. I want to see how BetMGM has it. I saw it in another book that certain teams are still favored in their series. Cavs, by the way, favored tonight. As of right now, injury report, we'll see where that lands, but they're minus 175 on the road.
Surprising.
In Indiana, a little bit surprising to me. I'm a little skittish.
That feels like a lot of public money being like the Cavs can't possibly go down 0-3.
Yeah. Cavs plus 155 to win the series right now. Pacers minus 185.
Okay.
That is where that lands. Knicks Celtics. The Celtics are minus 115. The Knicks are minus 105.
It's pretty even. That's not surprising.
No.
That feels
2-0 is still a little like, okay, I think the Knicks have the energy. And then the Wolves are minus 325, Warriors plus 260. So let's start
big
with
swing from after last night's game.
Yes. And to be honest, Wes, I look at this series and the Curry part of it. I want to start maybe there because that's chronologically how this has played out. When he had that hamstring issue and then he says he's not rushing back, and then the Wolves win game 2, I don't want to say it's fait accompli because these things can change. I don't think the Warriors can keep up with the Wolves without the Steph factor because unless playoff Jimmy fully rears himself in the series, which we haven't really seen him do fully in a Warriors uniform yet. I kind of think this is like too much of an uphill battle just because they don't have the Curry factor in this whole thing. And that might be oversimplifying it, but this feels like the Wolves have control if they just manage this properly the rest of the way.
It's not oversimplifying it. When you don't have your best player, you don't have your best player, right? The whole thing is built around Steph. I thought the Wolves were the better team going into the series with Steph healthy. So the fact that the Warriors don't have Steph, what happened last night doesn't surprise me at all. It sucks having lost Steph, just a few minutes into game 1. This was what the Jimmy Butler trade was all about. It was get into the playoffs, let Steph play on the biggest stage. That's all anybody wants to see. Steph Curry at this point in his career, it's not about accomplishments for him anymore. The Warriors aren't winning the championship. Everybody knew that, maybe except for Warriors fans. Like I don't think anybody really expected the Warriors to compete for a championship. I'm not saying that they couldn't do it, but it would have been very surprising. It would have been maybe one of the biggest upsets in the playoffs had they actually gone all the way to the finals and won. But that to me isn't the important part. I think what excited people, if they really thought about it, about the Jimmy Butler trade was, oh, wow, the Warriors just seem like a real basketball team again, and they're going to be playing in playoff series that matter. And that's why I think that Rocket series was so exciting and so fun and so interesting. It was, wow, this is Steph Curry playing in big moments. And he had that huge game one, knocking down those crazy shots. And then the game seven, where he just took the game over in the second half. That's all anybody wants to see. Steph Curry isn't playing for accomplishments anymore. He's playing for moments. And the biggest bummer of this entire series is when Steph goes down with that hamstring injury and just walks off, and you realize, oh my God, Steph's at this point now where he's never had a hamstring. This is his first hamstring injury.
Mm-hmm.
He's never had it before. And, he's 36 years old. Like, this is what's going to happen as he ages. And it was just like the sign of his basketball mortality that is just a bummer, because he's one of the most fun players to ever watch. And all you ever want to see is Steph Curry hit a crazy three-pointer in a big moment. That's one of the most exciting things in basketball. And I don't know that we're going to see it again this season, because if the Warriors are playing like the way they did in game two, they could be eliminated by the time Steph is able to come back.
And this, I think, coincides with like the Anthony Edwards injury scare, which like that ankle sprain.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm a Wolves fan in that arena, if I'm watching at home,
that was terrifying in the moment.
And
then you get the report that he's questionable to return, and I'm like, only questionable? I thought this guy was out forever.
Yeah, like it looked like this is like a high ankle sprain, and he's done for at least 2-3 games, and he maybe comes back and looks like a shell of himself. Comes back in the second half.
But that's the difference between a 24-year-old and a 36-year-old, right?
Yeah. Also, just like a real, like, he's a sicko. I mean, Ant's a sicko. I don't know if every guy, if they're depending on how he actually feels, I don't know, the adrenaline, whatever. Like that guy, I would, if I was gonna bet on one guy to come back and kind of spur something like that, it's probably him, right? Like it's probably Ant on top of everything else. The other thing about this game that really I think stood out to me is the Wolves' defensive identity looked awesome. John Krasinski wrote a really good story about this, about Mike Conley kind of leading the charge on this, but they were flying around. They were really active. They were crowding shooters. They were physical. Like this was one of the better, like this was like, that felt like an amped up version of the Wolves defensive flow here in a way we haven't totally seen, I think, at times in these playoffs and this year. It felt like kind of a elevating that identity of their team a little bit, particularly with the Ant situation. Just like we need to lean on something else other than Ant and how we're playing on offense. It's like it seems like they have with this, to me, Wes, and this could be reaching. We'll see if they can sustain this, and it'll get harder as if they win this and go on. But this feels like a way that they have a little bit of a chameleon part to them, like a little bit of a, we can tap into this other identity, we can hit this other thing, and we can win multiple ways, which is I think what the really, really good teams do. And all year, maybe the slow start, the weirdness of it, kind of the further we get from that, and this was maybe true based on how they played down the stretch. This was just like a really good team hiding in plain sight. That's what I feel like I'm thinking. The way they demolished the Lakers, the way they're playing so far, I think I might just be there with them, that we kind of missed sight of a really, really good flexible team with a really good coach kind of staring us in the face, and we didn't realize it. Or at least I didn't realize it.
Yeah, not to do the thing where I take credit for something, but a couple months ago, I recall saying, I think we're overlooking Minnesota a little bit. There was, I don't know, the record wasn't great, but their net rating was awesome. Like they finished 4th in net rating in the regular season, but they were losing a lot of these games in fourth quarters, and the Julius Randle, Anthony Edwards thing started really clunky, and everybody kind of assumed Minnesota was taking a gap year after the Towns trade. I don't know. I thought they were like I watch so much Minnesota because I just love watching Anthony Edwards. That I was watching those games. I'm like, I think there's something here, and it's starting to feel like they're figuring it out. And you want to peak in the playoffs, and it feels like maybe more than any other team, Minnesota's peaking in the playoffs. They've never played better basketball this season than they are these last couple of weeks. Game one notwithstanding, like that was a clunker against the Warriors, no doubt about it. But generally speaking, they've not been playing better basketball than they are right now. their defensive rating, to your point about their defense, is actually better now in these playoffs than it was last playoffs.
Impressive.
And I know it's a smaller sample, and they didn't, Luka broke them in the conference finals last year, but their defense is just flying around. What McDaniels did to Jimmy Butler last night, he just took him out of the game.
Let's get into detail now. What about what he did stood out to you?
His length. I mean, that guy, and he slides his feet laterally so well, and you combine that with his length, and McDaniels is not he's not Dyson Daniels, he's not Amen Thompson, he's not a flashy defensive player. He's just long, kind of string bean strong, right? He's kind of got those Popeye muscles, and then he just moves side to side and mirrors you so well. When he's locked in, he's a wall. He's just a barrier. And Jimmy Butler, time after time, I don't think Jimmy Butler scored on him. They actually keep according to the NBA tracking data, which is hit or miss, but mostly I trust it for the most part. For broader strokes. But yeah, it's McDaniels. Jimmy Butler took 2 shots with McDaniels on him and did not score. That feels about right watching that game. It's just every time McDaniels was in front of Jimmy Butler just gave the ball up. He was like, I'm not even going to try. And I don't even know if I blame him. Like that, he's just such a good defender.
I think the challenge there is like if Curry's missing a couple more games here, I kind of think they need Jimmy to try in those situations. I think that's kind of the whole battle here then becomes they need Jimmy to be really aggressive because I don't think it just helps Jimmy, but it's going to open up Bajemski, who's been really quiet the first 2 games. It can get him some open threes theoretically. It can get other role guys just open looks. It can get, I mean, I don't want to say cheap, but like in the muck, gritty points at the war, like kind of maybe the reason the Warriors go get Jimmy for this stage of this franchise to go get free throws in the playoffs. Like that kind of feels like one of the things you go get Jimmy for. I kind of think they might need in game 3. If I'm Kerr, I think my big adjustment is, hey, Jimmy, I know McDaniels is good. I know he's long. I know it's not a clear path. I know it's not really what I want to do. And maybe he won't do this because it's not really what they do. I kind of think he just needs to maybe get into get the bubble Jimmy mindset going and just exhaust himself getting free throws and being an absolute tank in the half court in that way.
Playoff Jimmy, right? This is the thing. And I tweeted this out. I was really surprised about some of the negative reaction I got to this tweet because I didn't think it was being critical or even I didn't think that was all that interesting of a tweet, but
Twitter has long become a place where you could tweet like the sky is blue today and they're gonna be like, actually, jackass, it's red. Go fuck yourself. Like it's not a place where like you
I even point that out, right?
It's like oh yeah, okay, nice job. Oh, you think you're smart, dipshit? Like it's not a place where you think like you're having like good react. It's like anything you say, it's like you're probably just gonna get shit on and people are gonna tell you you're a jackass. Like that's just kind of the design of the platform at this point.
Yeah. Okay. You're right. But no, here's the tweet. I just want to
hey, I proved gravity, by the way. And they'd be like, actually, Sir Isaac Newton was an idiot. Like that's
I go, Jimmy Butler has put up some decent box scores in these playoffs, but he's not been playoff Jimmy, quote unquote playoff Jimmy. Was passive down the stretch of a comfortable win last night, talking about game 1. Golden State hasn't seen playoff Jimmy yet, and nobody has since 2023. I still think he can hit that level, but we'll see if he can and for how long. Fairly innocuous tweet. I just said, yeah. Maybe I was smart guying a little bit on that tweet, granted, but I don't know. I don't think we've seen playoff Jimmy. And a lot of the response was, well, he was assisting a lot in the end of game 1 and he had 38 points against Memphis in the play-in tournament. And I was like, I thought we all decided that the play-in wasn't the playoffs. Like, miss me with that. I get it. I never said Jimmy Butler's been bad. All I said was there's another level that Jimmy Butler has gotten to that we haven't seen yet. If anything, it was positive, and Warriors fans were coming at me like, you suck. But I also know that I've gotten branded as a Jimmy Butler hater, and that's part of my whole thing, and that's fine. But I was surprised that we didn't see a more aggressive Jimmy in game 2.
Yeah.
And I think it's partly him. I think it's partly the Warriors, right? They just met. And to play through Jimmy Butler is very different than to play through Steph. And I don't know that the Warriors know how to play through Jimmy Butler. They've never played through a guy who's a low block isolation dude. This is very different for them. Well, and it kind of takes Draymond out of the offensive equation a little bit, which is problematic. And I don't know that they know how to do it. So I think it's him, but I think it's the Warriors not knowing how to do it with Jimmy. But I also think it's Jimmy Butler. His usage rating in Game 2 was lower than Buddy Hield. It was lower than Jonathan Kuminga. It was closer to Moses Moody.
Yeah.
And this has been my complaint with Butler over the last 2 years in Miami was, and this is how I got branded as the Butler hater, but I said, look, his usage rating is Tobias Harris in these games. And he's a star player. His usage rating should be higher. Like it's 22% is where he's been the last couple of years. His usage rating on a consistent basis should be 26, 27%. That's star player usage rating. And it's just not there. And I'm sorry, but he looks passive. And you could tell me that he's hurt and all these things. I don't care. Everybody's hurt in these playoffs. Jimmy Butler, by the way, physically, I'm watching him. He looks fine. He looks fine. He definitely looks better than he did in that Houston series. So he needs at some point to just get more aggressive, and then now I'll be called a Jimmy Butler hater again. But whatever.
Look, I think you're right though, because I don't think these are switches that are easy to flip. Right? Like you could say, just do this, and I kind of said that before, so like I'll dunk on myself here. It's not easy just to say, hey, I'm gonna we're gonna just play more iso ball. We're gonna like do this certain thing. It's like a whole, like you have to rewire how you play. And if you're not used to playing that way, you can't just do it. Like people have been saying forever, let's say with the Celtics, hey, like take more mid-range shots. Like when you're missing threes, I think part of the reason they don't do that, it's not just like the belief in like the system and the commitment to the system, but it's like you have to like rewire how you're playing to go do this other thing. I think back even to when the Cavs got Kyle Korver towards the end of the second LeBron run. Korver was talking about how as like a player, it was really hard for him. One of the best spot up shooters we've had in the last 20 years. It was hard for him to go from the Atlanta thing where he's running off of screens, he's coming off of pin downs, and he's like getting set up to take a three, where with LeBron, he's literally sitting and waiting and not moving to take the three. Right. And that was a big adjustment. I think when we are watching the game, I think we can underrate how difficult these adjustments are to do, particularly on the fly in the playoffs mid-series.
Yeah, when your whole playbook is built around Steph whipping around the court and doing all these things. Yeah. I've always said this about Steph. Incredible teammate, hard to play with. Hard for some players, because he breaks the geometry of a game, and if you're not used to where he's going to be, you're going to run into him. Like we saw when the Warriors, right after 2019, after those runs, and they were starting to cycle through some of those players in their rotation. They would go through a Kelly Oubre or a Brad Wanamaker, or just random players on that roster. They would literally run into Steph all the time because they're like, "Oh, we weren't expecting you to keep moving." It's just, you kind of have to get used to it. And then your whole playbook is based off of it. I don't know. Like Steve Kerr can't just look. A lot of these basketball players are the same. So I'm not going to say that they can't they can't install some new low post isolation stuff for Jimmy, because it's really not that hard. And especially because Jimmy knows how to do it, but there is going to be an adjustment period.
Yeah. I think the Draymond part of this with him getting another tech and just like he's teetering again.
Yeah.
I don't really know where this is going for Golden State. It feels a little bit like Game 3 is on edge on the tip of the cliff kind of energy for Game 3.
Yeah, their defense is gonna have to be a lot better too. Like I said, I think without Steph, Draymond becomes a lot less impactful offensively, and I don't know that you're gonna count on him to go 3 for 4 from 3-point range or whatever it was in Game 1 every single night. But he needs to just lean into. He hasn't been really defensive player of the year, Draymond, except for the end of Game 4 against Houston when he had that big stop on Şengün. But we haven't really seen that level of Draymond. He's been great. Again, like just nuance, people. You could be great, and then you could be all time.
The margins.
Draymond's been good, but those guys are going to have to hit these other levels, right? Draymond says it. There's 16 game players. We're going to have to see Draymond versus Giannis at the end of the regular season. We're going to have to see that level of Draymond defensively, because I don't think he's got much of a role to play offensively without Steph out there. And then we're going to have to see Jimmy crank it up to playoff Jimmy, which again, we have not seen since 2023. That was a while ago. And he's had a couple of big injuries since then, and he's 2 years older. And if playoff Jimmy, there's going to become a point where playoff Jimmy he can't summon playoff Jimmy. Right? There's going to be a point, whether it's at 36 or 46 or 56 years old, there's going to be a point in Jimmy Butler's life where he cannot summon playoff Jimmy. I don't know that we're there yet. I still think we're going to get a big Jimmy Butler game in this series. It could be as soon as the next game. I really do truly believe that. But if it doesn't show up, it shouldn't be that surprising either.
No, I mean, just hard to do. It's hard to manifest. It's a lot harder than I think we can give it credit for. Let's go to Cavs Celtics. In two teams, we favored to the three best teams in the league all year are both down 2-0. Have lost in different ways. We're not so much going to get into why they've lost, those specific things. I'm sure it'll come up. But Wes, I ask you, who is more equipped to come back from 2-0 and advance the Eastern Conference Finals?
I hate that I'm saying this, but it's the Celtics. It has to be. First of all, they're healthy. Relatively. I know Kristaps Porzingis is dealing with some stuff, but they're healthier than the Cavs, I guess is the better way to put it. They were up 20 twice against these Knicks. And if not for these fourth quarter meltdowns, and they were certainly meltdowns, they would be up 2-0 or at least split 1-1. I don't know that I don't know that the Knicks outplayed Boston in game 1. I know for sure the Knicks outplayed Boston in game 2. Like they just got outplayed in game 2. I think the Celtics have the stuff to come back in this series. They've been a better road team in the regular season than they were even a home team. So and they've won 2 games at Madison Square Garden this season. So I think they can go into New York, no problem. And they could probably even this series. And I don't think it would surprise anybody. So, yeah, I know that we were talking about the odds before. I don't know if it was before we started recording or when we started recording, but the fact that they've basically drawn even. The Celtics were the overwhelming favorites in the Eastern Conference. The Knicks, by winning 2 games in Boston, they haven't become the favorites to me in this series. And I think the odds kind of reflect that because it's so close. But they've drawn even with Boston. So if we just kind of say if it's a coin flip series now between the Celtics and the Knicks, which sounds crazy, but that's basically what Vegas is saying. It's a coin flip series. Then I favor I kind of still favor the Celtics to win this series, which sounds crazy.
I kind of think that's right because I think they, as a team that can just have the shooting break another way for 4 quarters instead of like 3.5. Like they got up by 20 in game 2 and blew it. And I understand that doesn't bode well when it's going back to New York, which I'm sure games 3 and 4 are going to be insane at the Garden, like absolutely unhinged in a way that will favor the Knicks. It's not going to be an easy place to play. But if I'm them, I'm kind of just like, okay, like our process probably wins out. We are better than them. We're up by 20. We had a historically bad game 1. It's like you can kind of not explain it away, but you can kind of like look in the mirror and say, tighten up a couple things, trust the process. We're probably fine.
That's probably what they're going to do. That's sort of their whole thing.
Yeah, it's really like the whole thing. I mean,
now they could lose. They could still lose, right? Like when you're betting on the variance thing. I make the joke all the time with Boston. They saw the Rockets miss 27 straight threes in the 2018 conference finals, and their response was, "Oh, they didn't take enough threes." Where the rest of the league was saying, "Yeah, they probably should have gotten to the basket a little bit more." And my whole thing with the Celtics isn't necessarily the fact that they took 63s in game 1. I don't really care about that. I don't care about the 63s. The problem I had in game 1 was 1 3-pointer. It was 1 3-pointer that I had a problem with. At the end of the game tied, all Jason Tatum had to do was get a bucket, and he settled for a step-back 3. And then at the end of game 2, he got the ball, got Mitchell Robinson on a switch, and then couldn't take him off the switch. Kind of lost his handle a little bit. Maybe that's just a little bit fluky. And whatever, he ends up pinned into in the opposite corner from where the inbound was, and then Mikal Bridges gets the game-winning block. Jason Tatum has to be better, Chris.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry if this is disrespecting your star, Boston, but he sucks right now. And I don't want to hear about the rebounding numbers, all right? I don't care. He needs to go out there and score the ball. He's shooting 30% from three-point range over the last 2 playoffs. So the threes aren't going in. I feel like he should be able to take Mitchell Robinson off the dribble. He should be able to get to the bucket when he wants to. And he hasn't. And he's just got to be better. He's got to be better. Because if he's not better, Boston's done. Like, there's not a way for Boston to win. Drew Holiday isn't as good. Derek White is fine, but he can't carry you in a series. Jalen Brown has been up and down this entire season. Tatum has been Boston's best player all year. Well, I don't know that you can really say that from last year, which is fine. Brown won the Eastern Conference MVP, the NBA Finals MVP. Tatum has clearly been their best player this year, and if he's not playing like that, then they've got no chance.
Yeah. This is this. I had a Celtics like friend point out like a Reddit post that was like this has like never been this is like the series Jason Tatum needs to take like a couple pull-ups and act like he's Kobe Bryant, but it's just like it's just not what he does. It's just like not the thing. It's like Tatum is gonna go out on the shield, I think. It's like, and he can be really, really good without turning the ball over the way he did at the end of game 2, which is like one of the craziest like star player turnovers I think I've seen in a long time. Maybe that's hyperbole, but it was like chaotic, out of control nonsense from Tatum, the way that Mikal Bridges ended up with the ball at the end of game 3. Like that would drive me insane if I was Celtics fan, because it was careless play by the best player on the team.
Yeah, and the thing about Tatum that really stuck out to me in this regular season was his decision making. He was so good at taking care of the ball. I think I said on this show, I don't know how many players I trust more with the ball in their hand than Jason Tatum at this point.
Yeah.
And that sounds really dumb right now, because he keeps making mistakes at the end of these games. I don't know. I think the Celtics, they're shook, man. Like the Knicks shook them. I think that's fair to say. They're in their head a little bit right now. I actually think they would have. They passed up a bunch of threes in game 2, in part because I think they were in their head about the process a little bit. Where in game 1, the narrative, I hate that word, the storyline coming out of game 1, when the analysis coming out of game 1 was they took way too many threes. And again, I didn't have a problem with all the threes. I had a problem with one 3-pointer they took in that game. But I think that got in their head a little bit, and they started passing up some open threes to try to get to the basket. They said, okay, we got to trade some of these threes in for 2s. And that's not wrong necessarily, but those 2s better come at the rim. And when the Knicks are playing, the Knicks are messing them up with these 2 big lineups. Credit to Tom Thibodeau, finally playing with the 2 big lineup, Mitchell Robinson and Karl-Anthony Towns. They were plus 21 when those 2 guys are on the floor in this series so far. That's crazy, man, over the Celtics team. And they are walling off the paint. And instead of trading those threes for shots at the basket, they're trading those threes for long 2s. They're not getting to the rim.
Yeah.
And that's sort of the antithesis of everything the Celtics stand for. So I think they looked lost in game 2. I still trust the Celtics though to figure it out. I think they're too smart of a team. They've been there. They know what it takes, but it just feels like right now, when that first thing doesn't work offensively for them, they have no recourse. There is no plan B on any offensive possession for them. And they're not doing the thing they did last year of generating good catch and shoots. It's a lot of pull-up threes. It doesn't feel like real offense. It doesn't feel like a layered offense. It doesn't feel like they have a plan anymore, the way that they've always felt like they had a plan last year.
The flip side of this with the Cavs, I think it's all about health. Like we're recording this on the day of game 3. I will convince myself the Cavs are going to win the game if Garland and Mobley play. I think they're going to win, right? Like I do think they're going to. Like that's the whole argument. It's just like they get healthy, and they're okay. And the way the game 2 went, should have won that game. They should have won.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, please.
So the 3 guys on the injury report,
wait,
all
real
3
quick,
of them are questionable.
how bad of podcasting is on a scale of 1 to, this is actually what I'm doing is bad podcasting. I mean, if you've been like, can I ask you a question? I was like, no, Wes, fuck off. Like if I was like, you can't ask me a question. Like,
would have been kind of funny.
Yeah, okay.
I probably would have asked it anyway. The 3 guys on the injury report, all 3 listed as questionable: Garland, Mobley, Hunter. Rank those guys in order of importance for this series.
Garland 1, Mobley 2, Hunter 3.
I think I would go Mobley 1, maybe Hunter 2, Garland 3.
I think they're missing. I think they're missing Garland's like ability to hit the pull-up 3 against pressure insanely. I think with how, if Ty Jerome was not playing absolutely incredibly awful, the order might be different. But Ty Jerome is playing the worst basketball he has played the entire season, and it could not come at a worse time. And they need one other guy. Like Strus did a really good job of it in game 2 off of Mitchell, and Mitchell was insane in game 2 and carrying a lot of that burden. They need another guy who can make and kind of create his own look. And if Jerome doesn't have it, it has to be Garland. Mobley can do some of that, but it's different. And I think with what Indiana is doing defensively, the pull-up 3 where you beat the pressure and get a clean look, whether it's a midi, whether it's a 3, I think Garland's the guy to do that. And I think they also just need someone who is really, really comfortable with the ball in their hand. And Darius Garland is uber comfortable with the ball in his hand against pressure and against intensity from Indiana. They need it insanely bad right now.
Yeah, I think so. I would probably go Mobley, Garland, Hunter. They do the thing with Garland that they're really missing too is that floater, that little relief floater shot. I mean, there's very few players in the league that shoot that floater as well as Garland. And Miles Turner has been really impactful defensively. He had 4 blocks in the first quarter of game 2 or something. They need somebody to be able to hit that little mid-range area. That's not obviously Donovan Mitchell can do it. They just need somebody other than Donovan Mitchell to get those relief buckets because I don't know that you like. What do they need from Donovan Mitchell? 60 points a game right now. They compete in the series. Like
they need him to also inbound the basketball at the end of the game. Apparently,
yeah. Max Strus can't do it.
He was so good other than that. Like he has everything in that game, and then
he almost got called for 2 separate 8-second violations.
It was really bad.
5-second violations. He almost got called for 2 separate violations, and then he had the turnover. At some point, Kenny Atkinson, hey, Max Strus can't inbound right now. He's having a hard time with it. Do it with somebody else. Has it been Strus all regular season as the inbounder when he's on the court?
Here's the thing: I should know that, and I don't know. I think it's the NBA regular season's like hard with that because it might be Garland. I should know this if I'm being honest with you. So this is one of those things that like outside of when you like leave the day to day, you just stop tracking some of that shit.
Mm-hmm.
Which is this is bad podcasting.
I mean, I would go like I think Dean Wade, somebody with some height against this longer Pacers team could be helpful. I hate when teams have centers inbound the ball.
Yeah.
Was it the Pistons that kept having Jalen Duren inbound it and he just threw it out of bounds like twice? You're just like, okay, this guy is supposed to catch passes, not throw them.
Yeah, unless it's like Jokic or
like obviously
like unless you want
Draymond
like
or somebody or Bam or somebody like that. Yeah.
The game 2 for Cleveland also gave me like the Mitchell proof of concept of like he can do this kind of thing. He just needs like a little bit of help, a little bit of support. I could totally see a world where they come back because they're just healthier and they are better. But Indiana's good. Like I think that's the other part of this is like I think Indiana. If I was taking like in a vacuum, I think I like Indiana more than the Knicks is also the part of this.
Yeah, I think Indiana is a better team than the Knicks. I think the Knicks are playing really well. I don't even mean to discredit the Knicks.
They're playing incredible. Yeah, I mean,
but I think this Pacers team is just we got to stop sleeping on them. Like they are really freaking good, man. Like that starting 5 is one of the best starting 5s in basketball. With Haliburton, Nembhard, Nesmith, Siakam, and Turner. It's by net rating one of the best starting 5s in basketball. And you can even take Nesmith out and put Mathurin in, or maybe it's Nembhard out and Mathurin in. But they have 2 really good lineups. And right now with the injuries, Cleveland's having a hard time putting one good lineup out there. And the Pacers are healthy and they're playing great. So I would probably say that the Celtics have a better chance of coming down from 0-2. But like I wouldn't be surprised if Cleveland came back in the series either, because if they can get healthy, I do think they're the better team. But man, it just sucks the way that these injuries just piled up so quickly.
If they're healthy, I think they can do it. But I think that's the argument. If I'm feeling good about it, it's that they'll be themselves and that you trust that. And there's been spurts of it looking really good if they do it. And that's maybe where I would favor them. Probably a little bit of homerness kind of baked in there, obviously. But if they come back and they're healthy and they look like themselves, then you're kind of there. Boston is going out on the Shield, and if the Shield is just like off for 7 games, then you might just be screwed.
So yes, 2 things. One statement, one question for you. Statement is if Boston goes out if they just die on the hill of we trust the process of this 3-point shooting BS thing, and they lose, they better come in next year with some adjustments.
Yeah.
If you come in next year and be like, we still think we could have beaten the Knicks if we took 83 pointers a game, Celtics fans should riot.
Facts.
Right, that's
facts.
Statement. Question for you. And you don't have to answer this. You can tell me to fuck off if you want. If the Cavaliers lose this series, not to get ahead of myself here, but if the Cavs lose this series and these injury guys don't come back and whatever, you could just basically say, hey, we never really had a chance because of the injuries. Do you leave the season feeling good because you saw what was a 60-plus win team during the regular season, clearly is a contender in the East, everybody's still under contract, you pretty much got a chance to return the same team next year, I think, unless I'm wrong about that. Like, do you feel good? You probably don't feel good right away, but do you feel good about it overall?
I feel good about it overall, but it's like it's like the main course at you went to like a really nice restaurant. The appetizer was really good. Your cocktails are really good. Your side dishes you're really happy with, but then like the main course, like the protein in your dinner, just like isn't quite doing it for you. It's like a badly cooked piece of fish or something.
Yeah, that actually happened to me recently.
It's not what you want.
No, they overcooked my steak. It was very disappointing.
Overcooked steak is horrible. Because I think it's like you have this.
It's a good analogy, by the way. I didn't mean to make it about me.
No, it's okay. Overcooked steak gives me PTSD in a way that is like ruins my day if you give me like an overcooked steak.
Yeah,
be honest. The season going, if it ends this way, and you had all the success, and you prove keeping all of this together was worth it, and you got over a lot of your demons from last year and the year before, and you have Mitchell staying, and it ends like this, it's going to feel like you made a lot of progress, but you got punched in the face. And it's like it's gonna end bitterly. It's gonna end in a way that like I don't really know even what you do with it. I think it even makes it hard. I think it's like a difficult place to be as like the team architect, like thinking about what do you do to like evolve it, because it's like you don't have a lot of you're not up against it per se, but it's like you have tough choices. Like what do you do with Jerome if he flames out this way? Mobley winning all defensive player of the year means that like he's going to make more money. Are you going to go like slightly frugal when like you probably owe this team another year to just go after? Like it begs a lot more complicated questions that if you maximize this year, it's say, okay, like we have to adjust a little bit, but we feel great about this. I still feel awesome about it because the memories and the feeling of the regular season were unlike anything since LeBron left. You can't really take that away, but it still stings that it just ends if it ends, it's like, what was this all for if it ended in the same place it did last year when no one was happy?
Totally fair. Yep. And the idea of like, all this stuff is so fleeting to kind of waste a season. I might be putting it strongly, but to waste an opportunity because of injuries.
I mean, I think Mitchell will see it that way.
Yeah, totally.
And that's kind of the most important voice in this whole thing is like, I don't think he's going to then ask for like a trade, but I don't think he's going to be thrilled about that.
Nope. We'll see.
It's tough. I think one of these teams. I'll put it this way. I think one of these teams will come back from 2-0. I don't know who, but I think.
Put some. I bet if you would have to do the math on it. Well, because Celtics Knicks, we could talk offline. But if you just put a little bit on both teams to come back, probably still make money on it.
Yeah, you could do some math there. Both Cavs at
not
plus
as a
money.
Parlay, just separate.
Yeah, Cavs plus money is the value betting play for what that's worth. Wes, to give these teams some credit, I want to ask another question here. To give Indiana and the Knicks some credit, who would you rather have, Haliburton or Brunson as your guy, based on both teams being up 2-0? You get to pick one to be your lead guard. Who do you want?
Okay, so what's the context? Am I building a team around this player, or is this just like, hey, playoff game, you get to have one of these guys?
I think it's like building a playoff team, like in the situation you are. Like you're trying to maximize your team. You're picking your guy. Like who do you want?
The right answer is probably still Jalen Brunson. He is so proven and so just like cold-blooded in the end of these games, man. And he's just time after time he's hitting these shots, and his ability to just wiggle free, and he could just shoot it from everywhere on the court. It doesn't really matter like if he even gets to his spot. He gets to his spot a lot, but if he doesn't, he just feels like he can make it from everywhere. I'm tempted to go Haliburton though, Chris. Like I really am. What this guy has done, in this postseason is just unreal. What he's been doing.
Just look at me real quick. If you're not, that's it. It's
correct.
I'm gonna get fined for that by
by our Just Basketball.
Yeah, it's being looked into as the NBA is looking into the big balls.
I mean, the huevos, the cojones. Like we could go all the way through with Haliburton. He's got him, man. Like, maybe I also love the way that Haliburton like puts his fingerprints all over a basketball game and how quickly he gets in. And he's got this great balance of, all right, I'm going to get my guys involved, and now I'm going to take over. And what he's been able to do in isolation, by the way, in these playoffs, starting, like, it really was eye-opening when he took Giannis off the dribble at the end of the Bucks series, and I'm like, nobody does that. You don't just square up with Giannis and take him off the dribble and blow by him. I think people forget how good Haliburton is, just ball in his hands, in space, take you off the dribble, get to the bucket. He's awesome. And there's a crazy number here. In the regular season, Haliburton averaged 0.93 points per possession in isolation on under 2 isolation possessions per game. In the playoffs, 1.15 points per isolation possession. Those are Shai Gilgeous-Alexander numbers. And he's doing it on 3 times as many isolation possessions per game. So he's tripling the amount of isolation possessions per game that he has in the playoffs and increasing his productivity, his efficiency on each of those possessions to a Shai Gilgeous-Alexander level.
Yeah.
That's crazy. And that's what playoff basketball is all about. And he is a playoff riser, and I think that's established with Haliburton. So I'll go Haliburton for the sake of the argument, even though the right answer probably is Brunson, but I'll go Haliburton.
I mean, the Haliburton pull-up 3 part of it is just like, I know Brunson has had some, but it's like he just has this dynamicism right now that is hard to beat. I go Brunson just because I think I trust like the decision making, even if I don't love how heliocentric he has gotten this year, and I don't love like where we ended up with him is kind of owning the ball all the time. I don't think it's actually good to the maximum. I do like get how we ended up there with a guy like him who is so damn sturdy, who is rock solid, who's going to make all these right decisions and can score and pass in all these different ways. Like I get
and the free throw part of it too shouldn't be overlooked. Like that guy could just get to the line and get you some key free throws when you need them.
Yeah, and it's like we've seen him. We had just a better example of him wrecking a team and what he did before he left the Mavericks, what he did to the Mitchell's Jazz that last year, and he just kind of dominated the series. Like that is there for him in the right matchup. I don't know if that matchup exists in the rest of the playoffs for him.
The sample size with him is so big, to your point, though. I mean, he's been doing it the year before he got to New York, and then ever since he got to New York, he's just been doing this. That's why it's probably the right answer is Brunson, but I'm just in love with what Haliburton's doing right now.
Yeah, I enjoy the Pacers and what Haliburton and the Pacers are doing more than I enjoy what the Knicks are doing right now.
Well, no, maybe it wasn't the show. I hated watching the Knicks.
Yeah, they weren't fun. No, we talked about this. They were not fun to watch. They were not good to watch this year.
And I was just like, oh, this is Celtics Knicks is like the most unethical hoops left. But I very much enjoyed that game 2 with the Knicks. Tom Thibodeau coached his ass off. He completely turned it around. And Brunson isn't doing all the foul baiting stuff that he was in the first round against Detroit. And I think probably there was frustrations with the physicality of that series. I think it's fair to say that Boston isn't as physical as Detroit. I think that's an accurate statement. So he's not as frustrated, and he's not kind of doing the whole throw your head back and complain to the refs every other possession. So they've been more fun to watch.
Do want to point this out that last year, this is the worst thing I've ever done. I'm really sorry. I'm about to put up a photo here. WWE just predicted this Eastern Conference Finals apparently, because you have Tyrese Haliburton with Logan Paul and LA Knight with Jalen Brunson. It's not Max Strus. That'd be awesome if it was Max Strus
behind Brunson.
That's Logan Paul, who I'm glad you didn't recognize him. That's good.
I thought Logan Paul was the other one behind Haliburton.
Behind Brunson. Yeah, that's a guy named LA Knight. But it looks like what Max Strus is going to look. Max Strus if he like took a ton of creatine and turned 40.
Oh, did you see the guy in the background there? It says he's got a shirt. Goldberg sucks.
Yeah,
is he talking about me?
He's talking about Bill Goldberg, who everyone hates.
I know.
Okay, good. The fact that we like that bit also included Brunson coming into MSG with like a steel chair to chase off Tyrese Haliburton.
Wait, this really happened?
This really happened. This happened.
Oh, I thought this was like photoshopped or something.
No, this looks like a real thing. I'm gonna find the YouTube thing for you and send this to you because it's like
Haliburton and Brunson were in a wrestling ring together.
Yes, yes.
God, I am so out of touch with the whole wrestling scene. I used to pay attention when I was a kid, but I didn't know any of this happened.
They've actually had a number of NBA like run-ins last year. So they had this, and they also had Trae Young after he beat the Knicks a couple years ago. They had him come in at MSG.
I do think I have a vague memory of that,
which was awesome. Like they need to do it, but they had a Haliburton Brunson. All right, thing and Haliburton because of
Dream WWE or whatever WCW, whatever they call it now.
Draymond Draymond and Rudy Gobert hell in a cell. That's the answer. Just they get to kill each other. They get to kill each other, make each other bleed in a steel cage. I think that's like the biggest beef in the NBA probably.
Yeah, and then you get Sabonis dropping down from the rafters, just to get involved, a double team between him and Gobert versus Draymond or something.
Is there another like NBA beef that probably needs to be settled with violence? Like, is there even one that's like on that level?
If there is one, it probably involves Draymond. I think he's just the antagonist in all of this.
Is it? Well, do you remember when Brandon Ingram and Anthony Simons got into it this year, and everyone like then found out like their weird connection? Maybe we got to have that.
Garland and Tyler Hero.
Honestly, not a bad idea. Hero seemed really annoyed.
That would just be slap fighting, I think.
Jimmy Butler and Pat Riley.
There you go.
I'm taking Pat. I'm
taking Pat, man. I'm
taking Pat to somehow pull that off, even at his age.
He still he does.
Yeah. I'm trying to think if there's any other like real Luka versus the refs.
No, because Luka would just complain the entire time.
But he gets like 5 refs.
Luka versus 100 gorillas or whatever.
I'm glad it took us this long to get to 100 gorillas, because I honestly,
it's 100 guys versus 1 gorilla, right?
Yeah, 100 guys versus 1 gorilla. The gorilla's winning. I just want to be clear on that. The gorilla,
especially if it's 100 Lukas.
If it's 100 NBA players, I don't think there's an NBA player equipped to like take down a gorilla. They don't have the skills for that.
No,
maybe
in the 80s.
Yeah, maybe Bill Laimbeer had a shot.
100 Bill Laimbeers versus a gorilla. I'll take the 100 Bill Laimbeers.
I'll take the Bill Laimbeers, but like today's NBA, no chance.
No.
The first time I've been nostalgic for NBA. I wasn't alive for. But yes, Wes, this was a real thing where they had Tyrese Haliburton, who has like appeared at a bunch of WWE stuff because he's friends with Pat McAfee, who works for WWE.
That makes sense.
And Haliburton's apparently like a really big fan of WWE. Like he like says he plays the video games all the time and stuff. They had Jalen Brunson at MSG running with a steel chair to chase off Tyrese Haliburton.
That's great.
It was good stuff. The Cavs have also, I will say, did a wrestling match between their mascots on the court as the in-game entertainment.
I'm here for that. Mascot on mascot violence is always good.
Yeah, Robin Lopez in a battle royale against all the NBA mascots. That's
Benny the Bull. Perfect. Done.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Taking the mascots to run in and save Robin Lopez. But before we go too kooky, we're gonna end there. I'm Chris Manning. That's Wes Goldberg. Big weekend of NBA ahead. My mental state on Monday with the Cavs could be one thing, and it could be thinking about Ty Jerome exceptions and if they pay him. But until next time, enjoy the Just Bask. Please listen, rate, review if you haven't already. Enjoy the hoops. Enjoy the weekend. We'll talk to you soon.